So, what does clavicular have in common with a dog breeder? Let me ask you this first. If we can optimize, for example, a cow for milk output and meat quality, if we can optimize a dog for coat color and temperament, why can't we optimize a human for fitness, attractiveness, intelligence, and whatever else the ruling class deems the most desirable human attributes? Well, hopefully, you can understand that's because people have a right to self determination, self actualization, and generally agency over their fate, at least theoretically. What I find interesting about the parallels between the logic of animal husbandry and looks maxing, as well as beauty maxing, which I'm using as a large umbrella term for the pursuit of perfection by women, the human equivalent of this, looks maxing or beauty maxing, really collapses that logic into the same mind. Both breeder and bred exists in the same body. You are at once the painter and the canvas. And these people walk around with the existential gravitas of tormented artists and the self-importance and stoicism of philosophers while doing the body modification equivalent of coloring in a coloring book. Because what we're striving for in this particular moment is what I've heard described as focus group hot. It is genetic homogenization at its most basic level, from body modification to cosmetics to perfumes. We are trying to look the same, sound the same, smell the same, and we are not meant to be the same. We're human people, and that is important. That is good. Now, from a more fair and compassionate perspective, I do think that both looks maxing and beauty maxing are attempts to reassert agency in a world that feels increasingly chaotic and uncontrollable. This learned helplessness that really compounded following COVID is an understandable response to both the rise in conservatism, the rise in fascism, and the rise in surveillance capitalism. And in a world that increasingly offers preferential treatment to machines, we are trying to cope by acting like machines. And yet, at its most fundamental assumption, a standard output of either attractiveness, intelligence, labor, etc., from a person is deeply, deeply and inherently dehumanizing. You are not put on this earth to produce or to perform or to be perceived in a specific way. And that entire concept and construct is deeply harmful to developing who you actually are. It is a very brave thing to decide for yourself what you want to look like, how you want to show up for yourself and for others, and to ignore the constant barrage of marketing and messaging you are given to be a certain way and accept certain standards of culture. You cannot baddie walk your way through a crumbling empire. You cannot bone smash your way into being loved by other people. You cannot outsource your self-esteem like ordering Uber Eats on the daily. You must develop self-reliance. You need to be self-respecting. And those things do not happen by adhering to other people's standards and expectations, which are often accidentally deeply dehumanizing. That's all.